handcuffed, and that's what happened last night.
The police kicked in the door, shot him twice in the chest, and died. Before you knew it, we had 500 families. We had over 100 volunteers calling us. We were on the phone constantly.
And I can't get it. And I got one police department telling me they don't know who's in charge. I got another police department here. Everybody's got a gun, and nobody knows who's in charge. Did anybody figure out who's in charge yet? Is there anybody in charge here? Any police officer in charge? Are you in charge? I can't find anybody in charge. That's the problem.
All right. And that's comrades who can pick up on your I'm smoking this joint now to take a fucking break. Thank God Christian Perez is here. I'm gonna bring him right in because I ain't writing no monologue. Another reason why it's good to have good comrades. What's up, brother? How you doing, man?
How we doing? Doing great, Brian. How you doing?
Good.
Glad to be back. Love it here.
Oh, really do appreciate you today, man.
Yeah, man.
You know what goes on behind the scenes before the shows really can only be appreciated if
it's always a lot of work.
If you work with us and Christians, you've been working as close as anybody. You've been a good comrade, you know. And today, you know, we had tech issues. I recorded an interview with Kathy O'Leary on Monday. You were there with us. I'm really looking forward to seeing it. And you're only going to see it tonight, editing the final touches on to that interview because I got home and started to prep and technology just wasn't going to work with me. And in all that frustration, I really didn't have, that's the time when I usually kind of sit and get the show going. And I mean, I didn't have any of that time either, but you know about things going on in South America. So I'm going to have a little, we've talked a lot about Brazil, and I'll be honest with you, we haven't talked. I think you need to start with the basics with Peru, because I don't know a lot about it. So I know our audience doesn't know about it.
Yeah. So in a nutshell, so right now I was just checking the headlines. So they might have called the election like just now in Peru, but up until about an hour ago, just as we were prepping this, there was a runoff election in Peru between the conservative candidate Keiko Fujimori, the daughter of the former dictator Alberto Fujimori. They were the dictators. How we doing, Warren? Thanks for showing up again, buddy. Salute to you. He was the dictator of Peru from 1990 to 2000. When we were talking earlier, I brought up the fact that Alberto Fujimori was responsible for the forced sterilization of over 270,000 women, of course, mostly poor, mostly indigenous women. They haven't found all of the mass graves from the killings that he's responsible for in Peru. And unfortunately, this is the woman, this is the daughter of this man, right, is currently at 50% in the elections in Peru. I guess I'll say the more progressive candidate, because Peru is suffering from lesser evilism. We'll say the more liberal candidate, they call him a socialist, and he definitely does have some socialist things. His name is Pedro Castillo. Now, he's a teacher. He is coming from the poorer regions of the country. His parents, I believe, were both illiterate, and he's definitely better than Fujimori. But unfortunately, with politics of lesser evilism, you don't always get the best candidates seeping forward. So this guy Castillo, he has been very critical of marriage equality. He's a person who's anti-abortion. He definitely has a lot of macho, machismo baggage and BS going a lot with him. He's not some kind of savior, right? But he is better than the daughter of the dictator who wants to keep Peru locked in perpetual poverty. I mean, and this is where we're at. Unfortunately, elections don't always give us people to believe in. Unfortunately, it's usually just people to hate. So that's where Peru has found themselves. They have the largest per capita COVID deaths on the planet. They don't have the largest number of COVID deaths, but just the largest per capita. So, the question comes down to, do you want a change in Peru, or do you want the same elites being kowtowed to, the same elites who have, allowed COVID to run rampant in the country? Are we going to allow them, or are the Peruvian people going to allow them to maintain control in that country? Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating. I'm a firm believer that life isn't hard, the world isn't hard, but human beings make it hard. We make it hard. We make living hard.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot, man, for the education.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. I'm going. Yeah, she has her own podcast. And Shakima, she does a podcast with a comrade, Zaire. You can catch it on Facebook Live. It's called Current Exposure. How you doing, sister? Thanks for joining us tonight.
Yes. Hello, everyone.
How we doing, Shakima? Thanks for being on.
All right.
So we'll talk a little bit. Yeah, so we're gonna get into the area that you live in. You're out of Newark, which I have a lot of guests from Newark because I used to live in the area. I'm not there anymore, but we thought we'd bring you in as kind of a reaction because we're all kind of learning about Peru. I don't think I'm gonna claim to have a lot of knowledge about Peru, and I don't hear it discussed much in the media. But I guess my first question for Christian would be like, where's the support for either camp as far as internationally goes? So of course. Let me ask you this. What does our good friend Joe Biden think of the whole situation?
I haven't. I don't know what Biden's actual opinion is on Peru, but I would not be surprised if the Biden administration was perfectly fine with a Fujimori administration running Peru. Right. So, again, these are when we talk about her father's dictatorship, we're not talking about the Cold War. We're talking 1990 to 2000. Right. This isn't a million years ago. This is very much recent history. This isn't the 40s, the 50s, the 60s. Shout out to everybody that was alive at that time. But this is like when I was in high school, there was a dictatorship in Peru. So in order for that kind of power to exist, it's not going to happen without the support of Washington and without, the wealthy elites of that country, unfortunately. The wealthy in Peru have a stranglehold on power. They control the media. They control a lot of the legislature. So it's very easy for them to stymie the acts of elected presidents or leaders. Same way we have, in the United States, the same way the Republicans would stymie Obama. I would argue Obama wasn't the fighter that he claimed to be. But that being said, what little he did try to do, he had to deal with Republican obstructionism. So it's the same exact mentality in Latin America. If anything, the wealthy in Latin America are even more entitled and privileged because it's been nothing but hundreds of years of control. Power is very much racialized, right? So poor Quechua-speaking native, we're talking significant portions of the population don't even speak Spanish, right? So
wow.
So large portions of the population are native speaking. And then there's this whole element of religious fundamentalism in Peru. So again, the quote unquote socialist left-wing candidate is against marriage equality, is against abortion, and so on and so forth. So he like I said earlier, he's not some kind of left savior. I would not be surprised, like I said, if the Biden administration came out in favor of the Fujimori administration. I would not be surprised if they were openly hostile to the Castillo administration. All the progressive strength and weight that Biden claims to have on the home front, it doesn't exist internationally. It's very much Democrat, Republican. It's almost the same policy in terms of Latin America. Subjugated, second-class status, and it's more of the same. And as we were talking earlier before the program, we were talking about Kamala Harris being in Guatemala, and she totally just screwed up put her foot in her mouth. I mean, it was intentional. Everything they did was coordinated and intentional. But it's for her to talk about
this is
the United States
something.
wanting to root out corruption in Colombia. I posted it on Facebook. I had my quote here. I just wanted to like read the quote that I had off of Facebook, because like putting the United States for someone like Kamala Harris to call out corruption in Latin America, it's ahistorical. And for someone to sit here and to like congratulate her, like, or Biden, because I'm not just going to beat her up, like they have something to say. It's just ahistorical. So this is my quote here. In 2009, the Obama administration aided in the overthrow of the democratically elected government of Honduras. That was the last Democratic administration under Obama. Blue MAGA is in full effect, but keep looking away because girl boss cop Mala is calling the shots. You aren't going to get any health care, but she does make mean to Republicans. I mean, this is what we get, right? Kamala Harris is going to be the next Democratic candidate for president. She is being propped up by the media as some kind of progressive hero, but we see her just being untruthful in Guatemala, right? Guatemala is poor because of policies from the United States. Mass murder, forced sterilizations, the attacking of civilians, the breaking of strikes. This doesn't happen without the thumbs up of Washington. And for Kamala Harris to sit there and say, we're going to root out corruption, it's the fox watching the hen house. So this is where we're at.
Yeah, that's pretty deep. I'm still trying to learn about what's going on in Peru. I really don't know the long list of what this guy that supposed to be a dictator has done. I'm learning right now. I'm just like Warren Albert, pretty much ignorant on the subject.
That's why the professor is here. We're all in school today. We appreciate it.
That's okay. You're about to drop some knowledge on us in a moment anyway.
I don't know.
I mean, but have you seen the Kamala? I mean, have you seen the Kamala Harris? Because I mean, that's been in the wider media. I know we brought it up briefly before the show. But have you seen those particular quotes in the media? And like, what was your initial reaction to seeing Kamala Harris basically telling immigrants not to come to the United States? And so I guess maybe we should clarify, because maybe our audience doesn't know what that horrible racist moron who locked up so many people that she lost count, quite frankly, is now going to Guatemala and telling people not to bring your tired, your poor, your huddled masses to the United States, but in fact to stay out, because the United States, basically you're making the argument that the United States is a place that people don't want to be. And is that the kind of country that you want to live in? A place where people don't want to come to? Can we start to think about that?
Wait a minute.
Do you want to live in a place where your leaders are going out and saying, it's horrible there, don't go?
I mean, people say that about Newark all the time. So, so people who live here say that.
Yeah, I understand.
And it's I understand, and some of it is just ignorance too. So, and people not, making contributions to make it a place to want to live. So yeah, we have some things going on here that's not 100%. We don't have all angels, living and running a city at all. So it's always a constant, struggle of good versus bad, and good versus bad is basically determined by how individuals or groups feel, so it's nothing set in stone about what people think is a good thing to do or a bad thing to do. People here in Newark think that if you look at them in a way that they don't like, they can just walk up to you and slap you. And they have supporters that feel, the same way, a whole community or neighborhood of people that feel that way. So, and that's not how you move forward, though, in my opinion. It's a bit aggressive. No, not even a bit. It's completely aggressive. And it's I can go on and on about that.
No, I would never. I mean, clearly, there's no excuse for walking up to somebody and smacking them. But what's often brought up, and we talked a little bit about underlying issues, right? I mean, and that is look, it's legitimate. I mean, there was redlining, there was political oppression. I mean, we've talked, all the way back from the days of slavery, and we could sit here and, I don't want to, be educating a black woman about racism today. But we know it's been there, right?
Right.
And so you had a reaction, I think, that, most lefties don't have. And I was interested by it. But, when you hear the people say that, listen, we live in poor neighborhoods, crime happens because of all these things. You want to share that reaction with our audience tonight?
About why the crime happens and why it's not
it's relation
always poverty isn't always the cause. And people just want to just behave in ways that's hurtful to other people because that's just how they feel and they can get away with it. It's a very it's easy to look at Newark from the outside and feel like people are brutalized by the police, but these same people that are seen being brutalized for 10 seconds or what appears to be brutalized for 10 seconds are the same ones that's been brutalizing the community for years. So, it's like, how do we defend those people? Yeah, it's not right how the police treat them, but I understand why the police treat them that way, because some of these police officers also live here too. And we know who the bad guys are. They know who the bad guys are because we're constantly around them. And because of things like redlining and racism, we all get lumped together in one city. The good, the bad, people who want to be progressive. It's kind of like, they get stuck with this weight of people. And then you have the poverty pimps that come in and say things like, oh, we need more money. This is why people are slapping each other around in Newark. And, this is why we have crime, because people are hungry. And a lot of times that's really not the case. We have crime because you have people with criminal minds and mental health issues that are just all lumped up together. People who want to be progressive can't get out because of things that existed like redlining, racism. It's like you have to be here to kind of understand that.
What are some programs?
I hear what you're saying, and I'm sorry.
I would say, what are some programs and policies that you would favor to say that you would support, that you think could help a city like Newark? Like you said, mental health counseling is probably something that could help the city.
Definitely mental health. We need our educational system to kind of like step up its game and start really teaching kids about being, good to each other, character development, and even teaching skills that they can actually use out in the world instead of just babysitting. I've attended Newark Public Schools too, and I've been in some of those classrooms where it was like Pee-wee's Playhouse from the moment I walked into the class until the period was over. And that's not an environment to learn in. And again, these are Black teachers. These are Black principals allowing stuff like this to happen. And you have, oh, go ahead.
No, I hear exactly what you're saying. And as I'm hearing you, describe kind of these people and these characters that are involved in your city and things that I don't know about because I don't live there.
All right.
I'm not from
Thanks everybody for
there.
tuning in.
I think we got there we go. But as I'm hearing you talk, I can replace a lot of the people you're talking about with white people I saw running our government in Trenton. When you talked about the criminals getting away with stuff, this attitude that you could walk up and smack somebody. I've never seen it to a physical effect, but I'm telling you, the attitude is there. The toxic people, the aggression, and those are rich, powerful people in Trenton who are awarded with elections and jobs and assembly seats and staff gigs and no-show jobs and all the shit that goes on down there. Whereas in oppressed communities and working class communities, white or black, I'm not going to target Newark because I'm not from Newark, so I'm not trying to speak. But I've worked places including Perth Amboy and downtown San Diego, so I've seen a lot of different communities in my life. And the poor people are the ones that go to jail. The poor people are the ones where the drugs are prosecuted, not because white people do drugs. We just pay more for them and don't go to jail. So
right.
I think where I hope after we talked and why I'm continuing this on the air a little bit is because what I hope to do is connect those communities and see the parallels in our society and on a national scale, the way we treat all kinds of communities does have that effect, right? That's my point. It ain't Newark. It's capitalism. This is our country. We're all fucked up. I have met some seriously aggressive white people. It is not indicate that tonight. I don't want to talk and so I wanted to ask you, in specific, terms, where you thought a community could heal. Because I think, Christian asked you about policy, but when we talk about those root causes, where you think communities can heal from these deep wounds. Have you seen examples of that in Newark as well? Because I have. And that's what I always try to focus on when I talk about Newark, because even though I love that place, man. That's a really fun town if you visit. But I know the struggles of people that live there.
Right.
Where does it go from there? Let's go to where do you go to church? You go to what do you do?
No, definitely not the church. No. What? Oh my gosh. They're some of the worst people. They are, no, those are the elitists.
So where do you go? All right, so I'm sorry. I didn't mean we're having a religious show. I'm thinking about my interview after this, but it's fine. I understand.
It's a way for people to make money. We have over 700 religious institutions in Newark, and look at excuse my language. Look at the shit that happens. This should be the holiest city in the state.
Yeah. A lot of these,
and that's why I make my comment. We're not dealing with angels here.
Yeah.
At all.
It's a problem, I guess, in politics. It's not an American condition. I think it's a human condition where it's like, there are predators in our societies, capitalists, businesses, maniac, right? But then there are individuals that come forward to protect us, religious leaders, politicians. They could be police and so on and so forth. It could be whoever. But oftentimes they end up exploiting just as much. And I think the term you used was poverty pimps, right? Could you give a number like roundabout in terms of like the black leadership in Newark? How much of it is like native black Newark people, like native Newarkers, and how many of it is just educated, upper middle class black liberals or whoever, just outsiders coming into Newark?
Well, before outsiders came into Newark, we had like 4% of our population, which is like almost like a 250,000 people, had like a bachelor's degree or higher. Now, when people started coming in to exploit and use Newark as a stepping stone, it went up to 12%. And the rest of the population has at least high school or less education. So, and that's why I brought up education as a policy and something that, you know, we need to go harder and improve on to really, you know, make the community progress. Just like a high school kid feels like, yeah, it's okay to walk up to somebody and slap them in the face because they don't like the way they looked at them. These are the same adults.
Yeah.
Who haven't grown out of that phase. You know, that's something that I'm not going to lie, I would have laughed at in high school. But as an adult, it's like, come on, seriously? Is that how you're going to solve your problems? And then that slap in the face leads to somebody going to get a gun. And now we have all this. Yeah, people are shooting each other. And then whoever ends up getting shot and on the losing end, then their crew comes and some more people get shot up. Then innocent people get shot up.
Yeah.
So
what is your opinion the most
really crazy
issue in Newark currently?
Oh, we have an educational issue. We have an issue where people actually commit crimes and have taken the whole George Floyd situation, hijacked it and flipped it to justify why they do screwed up things.
Yeah.
You know, things that kind of sets the community in a backwards motion.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then we have a lot of mental health issues going on. People who come out of prison from other townships relocate to Newark, and now we have to take that on. And that this is, you know, if all this madness is going on in the environment and they get reintegrated back into that, why would they reform? Why would they change? Yeah. They just jump back into old ways. And, you know, it's people like me that have to push through all of this. You know, it is.
Yeah. You're getting it on both sides.
It's a roller coaster ride.
What do you do to push through?
Like
what's your, I mean, I know well, I'm sorry, I got a little lag there. Am I back?
Oh,
I'm good.
Yeah.
I was asking Shakima, what do you do to push through all this? I mean, I know you do your podcast, you're politically minded and you're trying to have a voice out there. So is that a part of it? Like, and
right.
What have you gathered from your, you said you've been doing it for about a year, right? So you've been, you know, just putting this out, weekly, monthly? How often do you guys go live?
We do it weekly. We go on every Thursday at 6 to 7. Sometimes we go a little over, depending on how the conversation is flowing in the comment section. And we're mostly trying to get people's perspectives in Newark, and we're trying to come to a consensus and figure out how are we going to move forward. What, you know, do we want our city to look like? Another issue that comes up a lot is the trash. There's a lot of trash here. People just come here and dump their trash, construction debris, and all types of stuff. Yeah. And
if anybody's ever seen the scene in The Sopranos where they have to get rid of asbestos and they just do it, where he's just dumping it out in the Meadowlands. Yeah, it's, you know, it's documentary. That's documentary filmmaking, by the way. If you've ever watched The Sopranos, just so you know, it's not a whole. It may be fiction, but that every single one of them scenes has happened in real life in my old house in New Jersey.
That's Jersey.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yikes.
What are organizations that you feel are doing good work? Like if I'm like, because now I'm learning about Newark, if I wanted to give money, donate time, or if I have friends in Newark that wanted to help and get involved, who could I turn to? Our listeners, right? I'm sure we have a lot of listeners in North Jersey. Who is there? Anyone that you could put, individual organizations that you could put them in touch with.
Wow. Oh. That's a good one. That's a tough question.
What I would tell them to listen to your podcast. Listen to Shakima's podcast.
Yeah. Listen to the podcast. I'm still trying to figure that out myself. I've done partnered up with different people. It's some really, really good people that don't get the support that they need to reach out into the community. So I can't even think of them offhand right now.
That's all right. You let us know as we look forward.
It's very few though. Very few people that I have to scroll and look at my phone. I'm like, oh yeah, she does. She's always doing a coat giveaway every winter or something like that for the kids. Yeah.
There's a lot of. I'm as a guy that comes and visits. I met a lot of good people, and I know a lot of good places to eat, and a lot of groups trying to do good work. And I'm on the outskirts of it, and I appreciate that perspective. I appreciate you coming on tonight. I know that Leah's been doing her best to get the show edited, as I told people at the beginning of the top of the show here, that I had some tech issues. My office hours got kind of thrown into a blender today. So, but we are going to do is we'll have a standalone episode. So once that show gets finished editing, we'll just pop back on here and broadcast it as a standalone live episode that might come out. We'll just do it. Is it Wednesday? I'll just schedule right here with you all. Is Thursday night at 8 p.m. good for everybody to watch a video here on NJR Live? Good. So that's what we'll do. Tomorrow night at 8 p.m., we will broadcast Kathy O'Leary's interview. It's called God But Not Guns. She is a Christian nonviolent activist. I know Kathy, she's a little bit of even though I'm not a particularly religious dude, I've always been spiritual. I like hanging around people that are deeply, honestly, I know there's a difference between a church and people of faith. And even though I don't particularly subscribe to religion as a way of life, I really enjoy my faith bearing comrades because, they give me a perspective. And if they really do follow the teachings of Jesus or whoever they purport to worship, then they're really good people, So I've found that out many, many times. But Shakima, I want to thank you for coming on, and I want to make sure that you let people know one more time. Make sure you plug your podcast, when, where, how they can, listen. And thanks again for coming tonight. But make sure one more time, give us your details, sister.
All right. Every Thursday at 6 p.m. Me and Zaire Ruffin, we get into it. Who's actually, he's like a firecracker at times, but really good, cool people. And the name of the show is Current Exposure. So people can come check us out. We definitely have different views that might shock people. Zaire sometimes he speaks in favor of the police because of things he's experienced and seen in the city where he hasn't felt safe, and where he has seen other people not feel safe. But it's not to take away either from the police brutality that actually does exist. I'm surprised Newark isn't even talking about the police shooting we had at the beginning of the year. Did you guys hear about that?
No. I might have.
There's a lot of problems with a lot of police departments. Yeah. And I wasn't, I didn't bring up a lot of specifics, but I think it's fair to say that the Newark Police Department does not have a good track record. And
no, not at all.
What I'm not doing tonight, because it's your first time on my show, and I don't want to scare you off by throwing a hunch, but we could certainly sit here and kick around Newark police records and things Newark PD have done, that are pretty fucked up. I mean,
of course, yeah.
When I talk about the Sopranos and mobsters, the brass ain't no exception in that whole scheme of things. So. But that's, we'll get into that another time. I thought it was important that people hear, because we put on a lot of anti-police work here tonight on this network. And that's my point of view. And I end every show by telling police that they can quit their jobs, because it's true. They can quit their jobs if they want. But, I also think it's fair to bring on people from these the communities that I'm talking about. And it's not just about, hating on police. What I always take, even though I don't agree with you for the most part,
hey,
I do know that every human being deserves to feel safe. And if the police are what's making you feel safe in your neighborhood, then it's anti-police activists, anti-police big mouths like myself that need to come up with a replacement, because the solution is not to leave you unsafe. That is not that's not a solution. That's what my audience really needs to take away from this is you can't just look at Shakima and say, oh, she's pro cop and badmouther. You have to help her community feel safe, and that's how you fix the problem.
I mean, if Governor Murphy allows us to have concealed carry, then I wouldn't need the police.
Okay.
But I doubt that that's going to happen. So
I'm gonna book your next show.
She's got to come back. This is going to be fun.
So I think the police are they're forms of leverage for us. A lot of Black people, even the crooked church politicians and all that stuff, we have to use them as leverage and strategically so that we are safe.
Yeah. Thanks again for coming tonight, Christian.
Somebody pops up outside my house, I'm calling the police, and they're 9 out of 10. They usually come take them away, and that's the end of that. But if I was able to carry, and I don't know if he'll be able to get back up to come to my house ever again, or anyone else's. But again, I don't think the governor is going to allow that or support that.
No, he's not gonna.
But
the whole mom's behind. Oh, it's another show. It's another show.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna schedule.
So I'll dream about that. I'll dream.
Definitely gonna schedule. I promise you. Christian Perez, before we go, what you got? Any plugs, important dates? What's coming up for you, sister, brother?
No, I just want to tell people to be out there for June 22nd, man. I mean, if you can make it out there to the coffee house, please come. Check out the live stream. It's going to be the Revolution Radio All-Star Show, right? We're trying to get everybody to come. And I mean, hey, Shakima, if you can come on by. All right. I mean, if you can make it, please help.
I appreciate it.
June 22nd, the Coffee House in Edison, New Jersey. Thanks again to my guests, Shakima and Christian. Thanks to my editorial board, my staff, and everybody. Sorry about the tech issues. The Kathy O'Leary interview will be up tomorrow night. We will stream it live here, 8 p.m. Thursday night. I promise you, it's called God But Not Guns. It is about the non-violent activism going on inside the Catholic Church. So check it out. Also, subscribe to our YouTube button. There's a little thing there to subscribe. We need you to press that, please. And tell your comrades that you have done so, because you won't miss NJR Live or IDAVOX. You'll ding, bzz, some go off in your pocket, lets you know that we're streaming, so you can check us out. We have activists, we have artists, we have musicians, we have all kinds of great stuff going on. And if you want to get involved with producing, if you want to come on the show and do little segments or help us host events and support our staff, you can become a member of our editor. You can become a member of our editorial board. Go to www.njrevolutionradio.com and click the little thing that says editorial board, and there's information on how to do it. Other than that, I'm going to see you next week, and I'm going to be back in my original home state the week after that for our live show. Until then, I want my entire audience to remember that the police can quit their jobs. Peace.
thrown against the car, handcuffed, and that's what happened last night.
The police kicked in the door, shot him twice in the chest, and died.
Before you knew it, we had 500 families. We had over 100 volunteers calling us. We were on the phone constantly.
And I can't get it. And I got one police department telling me they don't know who's in charge. I got another police department here. Everybody's got a gun, and nobody knows who's in charge. Did anybody figure out who's in charge yet? Is there anybody in charge here? Any police officer in charge? Are you in charge? I can't find anybody in charge. That's the problem.